First of all, I'm really pleased and honored to be present with you today in this fourth virtual edition of DynamicsCon 2022. I start first by thanking you. Thank you for joining me to talk about this great topic of using Dynamics 365 for finance and operations and PowerPlatform, and how we can integrate them into a general data integration architecture strategy. As this event is organized by community and for community, I would like to thank the sponsors of this event, of this edition. Thank you for this wonderful occasion. Thank you for the organization of this super event. Really, I think it's a crossroads of exchange and sharing information, knowledge between international consultants, architects, decision makers around different Dynamics 365 and Power Platform topics. Really, I think it's a great opportunity also to meet the entire BZAPS and Power Platform communities. So thanks to our sponsors that we are here today. We thank them warmly, and congratulations to the organization team who built this great event. So today I'm going to talk about Dynamics 365 FinOps with Power Platform and how to integrate them into data integration strategy, but also why they can be considered as a winning combination in a data integration architecture in general. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is I'm Adnane Dalhi. I'm a Microsoft Dynamics 365 for finance and operations and Power Platform senior consultant, Agile Consulting. In parallel with my job in consulting world, I'm preparing actually my PhD on big data and smart city applications project. I'm a big fan and passionate about data integration architectures, R&D topics, especially in the FinOps area. I'm a technical blogger, so I have a technical blog, theinvasion365.com. So don't hesitate to visit my blog, read my articles. I periodically share some cool articles about Dynamics 365 FinOps Power Platform. As you can see in the screen, I put at the bottom of the screen the links to my different social networks and also my blog, to which you can return to contact me. Today's presentation, we will do it in three parts. We will start by a data architecture and definition. We will see together at what level we really need to have a data integration strategy in a new FinOps model in which financial data plays an accelerating role, a major role in defining the evolution of an information system. And automatically, when we say information system, that means we talk about the whole company, and because the other system of the company will be automatically impacted. So I will try to illustrate the use or the importance of a data architecture. What are the actors of success of a data architecture, and how we can implement the three essential steps of a data architecture through a business use case demonstration. We will then quickly talk about what are the strengths of Power Platform and how or why we can consider Power Platform as a real data integration tool and a strategic lever at the enterprise level. And then finally, I will conclude with a use case, a quick business scenario demonstration of a data integration strategy by using Dynamics 365 FinOps as a source of financial data, Power Platform, and Azure Data Factory services. So we will start with an introduction to data architecture and why do we need really this architecture. So in fact, to answer this question, why do we need a data architecture or a data integration strategy, we must put the global context of each information system defined by its objective. Modern business today manage and interact with data on a daily basis to analyze and make strategic decisions during all phases of project and business development by obtaining insights from multiple data sources. Data can come from ERPs, from CRM, JSON file, third-party applications, etc. And the ERP is considered as a main component of this cycle of systems, a key source of financial data, and the ERP cannot be an isolated tool. So it should not be an isolated tool. It is an element that is part of a large framework of data flow systems where the ERP must exchange on a daily basis with several information systems. And this system can even also be different on other technological stacks, different to Microsoft. So all of this exchange flow of information is for one main reason, is to analyze the data and to develop business insights around the key KPIs of the company activity, then finally make strategic decisions to develop new activities. So something that cannot really achieve it if we are not deploying and integrating an efficient and an agile logical data architecture, design a scalable architecture that can enable the data integration, facilitates the interaction, and enables all users from teams, from stakeholders to from the CEO to the frontline workers to meet their daily needs with minimal effort via an agile data architecture. So the question that now arises, how we can make these strategic decisions? In fact, to make this strategic decision, I think it's always necessary to develop a better understanding of the FinOps model, in which financial data plays an important role. And FinOps, it's a model that aims to put all projects, team members, stakeholders in a context of continuous exchange of financial information through mechanisms and fast and efficient exchange flows. But also I think we have to define the difference with the classic operational model or the classic management model, which doesn't allow to ensure the best inclusion of different stakeholders in the organization or the structure of projects because of its way of management in silo mode, when teams are not teams and resources on another part are not connected via efficient feedback loops. The problem with the classic model is it's focused more on basic technological challenges like infrastructures, tools, licensing, which ultimately lead us to have this lack of efficiency in terms of management, but also in terms of generated data. So companies must not only anticipate future technological demands to develop their activities, but more than that, they are invited to develop a cultural change in a difficult cloud environment in which structured data plays a major role, accelerating role to deliver continuous revenue improvements and positive rate of return on investment. So along with work on in cloud FinOps oriented cultural change, it is essential to develop an organizational data governance approach based on good understanding of the FinOps model and how design and a good architecture can help us, our companies, to be more and flexible with external data. Finally, we can say that FinOps guarantees to get the most out of cloud spend. It enables change, combination of systems, best practices, culture to increase an organization ability to understand cloud costs and make business trade-offs. So the same way DevOps revolutionized development by breaking down silos and increasing agility, FinOps increased the business value of the cloud by bringing together technological, business and finance professional with the new sets of process. Always in the FinOps model and before creating this architecture, it's always necessary to understand and know that we are facing in a continuous way the challenge of 3 V's, or simply the 3 characteristics of big data. So let's start by the first one, which is volume. Here we are talking about a rich FinOps data model. And the volume of data is significant. We are facing a rich ecosystem of data with a constant increase in the information systems in place in companies. Actually, the volumes of data are processed are measures in terabytes. So the questions that we have to ask here is, what are the costs? What are real-time storage and processing tools? What methods should be adopted and analyze it to analyze the information? What are the ways to archive, for example? That was the first point. The second point, which is velocity or the speed. The importance of immediacy and instantaneity to receive or transmit information from all daily information, all daily financial activities in information system. It forces organizations to improve their reaction and anticipation speeds. Information is no longer static, but becomes a dynamic agent of change. So in this context, we have to ask the question, for example, if it's my data architecture or my data information system, it is capable to start treating on processing data in near real time. For example, which technological tools we have to ask which technological tools we have to adopt in our architecture that can help us to process and synchronize data. So that was the second point. The third point, which is variety. FinOps, it is a cloud, it is a full cloud model, dynamic, fast, characterized by different information format. Generally, we talk about structured and unstructured financial data, which require new know-how to be assimilated and then analyzed to be shared with other systems. And all this leads us to ask the questions about data governance, about the protection of data, the management of the quality of our data. But also we have to understand what are the essential steps to embark on the data integration phase. So let's start by the first step. The first step is you have to start by mapping your process. As mentioned before, the ERP is not an isolated tool. It's a system that must continue sharing data in a continuous way with other systems. So that's why first you must list all the elements that make up your information system in order to identify all the applications used by your teams. And next you need to map the business process of your teams. Take for example your company lead acquisition strategy. It generally involves two teams. The marketing team in charge of acquisition and the sales team in charge of qualification. The marketing team must carry out all of the following actions. For example, they are responsible managing content and its promotion on the appropriate channels, setting up campaigns, structuring, scoring, receiving and distributing leads, etc. Then the marketing team should transfer the relevant information to the sales team, which has also its own process. So it's essential that each process have to be documented, well described and analyzed. Each process must be clearly defined and listed and mapped, because this will help us to automate them after. The second step, you have identified all of your business processes. Now you need to get started and choose which ones are going to be integrated into your architecture and automated. So to choose, let's start by the first criterion, which is frequency and execution time. So the first criterion is generally based on the combination of frequency and execution time. For frequency, it's a question of observing the rate at which a process is executed. On the other hand, it's just the time it takes to complete a process. The second criterion, which is blocking, the second criterion is to identify if one of these processes is blocking all of your teams. Let's back to our example. Maybe there are a lot of content posts on your channels that are generating leads in your CRM platform, but qualifying them takes so long that your sales team cannot process them in the right amount of time, and you found the teams waste considerable time and cannot move forward fast enough to the detriment of the business. So in this context, a process cause a real blocking, which data integration strategy can unlock. The third step, which is robotize and automate. You've mapped out your processes and prioritized which ones you want to automate. So it's time to take the next step. This requires identifying the appropriate data integration platform for your needs. For that, you have to ask, for example, some essential questions to define the automation criteria. For example, we can ask the question about the availability of data connectors for your tools, the question of storage of your data. The most important here is you have to be aware of your problems and the expectations of your teams and clients. Finally, I think all these questions are essential to adopt the right integration strategy and can help us to understand and embark in data integration phase, but also to choose Microsoft Power Platform as a winning choice. For me, I consider it as a Swiss knife, because this one will be a quick slide. I will quickly talk about why in fact we consider Power Platform as a winning choice, a real data integration tool. Frankly and personally, I've just loved working with Power Platform tools. For me, it's just amazing. It's a one single access platform. We don't need to install external tools. A single product with several access and services. A set of hyper-connected tools with over than 400 data connectors with different technological solutions. It provides a low code, a rapid development environment to build custom applications via Power Apps. For business needs, we can create web and mobile applications on all devices with more 400 data connectors ready to use and to be interacted with other systems. More than this, it's unleashed the potential to build rich data scenario solutions. So that's why it can be considered as a real data integration tool to meet your different data implementation scenarios. And all these elements make us convinced to choose Power Platform as a real data integration solution. Now let's move on to a business case scenario that we've implemented before for one of our global clients in Agile Consulting by using Dynamics 365 for finance and operations and Power Platform tools. So I will quickly present the architecture that we've used to improve and reach the standard license estimation data in Dynamics 365 FinOps and externalize security and license data via Power Platform, Database, and Azure Data Factory. So I will start by a quick description of the context and the business need and present the objective or the need to have such an architecture. Today, when we say FinOps, we automatically think of a model based on the total integration of cloud solutions, but also a model that puts everyone in the organization in the context of continuous sharing of financial information through real-time daily reports, automated resources, fast and efficient feedback loops. But this centralization of teams around business processes and financial operation in a cloud environment, in a challenging cloud environment, will only improve the efficiency of project members. That if and only if security is placed at the heart of this model and plays a significant role in the governance and controls defined for the use of the cloud for each user of the system. So this is why we think always choosing the right security implementation strategy at company level is essential to have a adaptive control to the different business scenarios and processes through the definition of a global security policy that covers all roles, permissions, user identity, data to each user of the system via associated security roles. And that was one of the main challenges that we've encountered with our global client is to develop and facilitate the estimation of Dynamics 365 license management information to have a global idea about license information management of all Dynamics 365 instance. The challenge here was really to improve and enrich the standard security reports and associated data entities to embark more security data by each Dynamics 365 instance. Currently, Dynamics 365 license management information is represented by two elements. The standard offers two types of reports. There is user license estimator and user license count, which give us an idea of the type of license associated to each system user, the associated security role, the total count grouped by license type. This can help us to analyze and have a global idea about license information, an idea about users who have the highest security license type and which roles are impacting the license type. But the limitation with this standard reports, we don't have a single method that gives us a full overview of licenses by global Dynamics 365 instances. You can imagine, for example, the case of a large group with several subsidiaries, when each subsidiary has its own specific roles and licensing data deployed on multiple Dynamics 365 environments. And you want to analyze and develop a 360 view about used roles and licenses by each Dynamics 365 instance or even by department, something that is not easy to achieve by using standard mechanism and have to be adapted. To achieve To achieve that, we've adopted the following data architecture. Let me start quickly by the main technical actors here, which is Dynamics 365 FinOps. Which contain the standard report, but as mentioned before, they are not representing sufficient information about environments. So what we did here, we've created custom development to embark more technical metadata related to current Dynamics 365 environment to store the URL environments, the Azure tenant, the associated DevOps project associated to the tenant. The business need here with the client was to develop a batch job that will push periodically data from FinOps to a global common dataverse, which will host the security and all the license information of all Dynamics 365 environments. After that, we've developed global Azure Data Factory pipelines, which is common and connected with all Dynamics 365 instance. The role of Azure Data Factory pipeline here was to pull and read data from each Dynamics 365 environments and pull them into a global dataverse via an automated cloud flows executed automatically through Power Apps application. So let's make a quick demonstration. So in Dynamics 365, as mentioned before, the standard security report and the associated the associated data entities are not really representing sufficient information about environment. So that's why we've created custom development to embark technical metadata related to the current Dynamics 365 environment to store, for example, the URL environments, the associated Azure tenant used for these environments. We can also store the associated DevOps project to the current tenant. So one of the main challenges with our clients was really to transform this development as a managed feature. So we've created a managed feature which can be activated and deactivated by all the subsidiaries of the group. This is from FinOps part. On the other hand, Power Apps, we've created a specific application dedicated to add a new Dynamics 365 instances. So we give the client the opportunity to add a new URL environment. So the client will be able to add a new environment. You can imagine the scenario, for example, a global client with multiple instances with an important number of deployed Dynamics 365 environments. So the clients can automatically go to this interface and add a new Dynamics 365 environment. We give also the opportunity to the client to automate to start an automated pipeline execution. What we've did here is we have developed a global Azure Data Factory pipeline, which is common and connected with all Dynamics 365 instance. The role of this pipeline is to pull and read data from each Dynamics 365 environment and pull them into a global dataverse via an automated cloud flows executed automatically via this Power Apps application. That's all for today. I would like to thank you for your attention. I will be more than happy to receive your question. So don't hesitate to ask your question, and thank you. Yeah, that was a presentation of Dynamics 365 FinOps and Power Platform, the winning combination. Talking about how we can integrate, how we can choose the ideal data integration strategy by using Microsoft Dynamics 365 FinOps as a source of financial information, and how we can integrate financial data from FinOps with Power Platform tools. So yeah, we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Let me check if there is any question in the private chat. So don't hesitate if you have any question. We can discuss about this subject, or maybe if you need my LinkedIn profile, so we can keep in touch for more technical details, functional details about this subject. So yeah. Chat. Yeah, let me start by the first question. Thank you for your questions, Santosh. Any guidance on when to use Logic App versus Power Automate? This is a good question and is really a frequent question that we ask about. We ask when we need to automate some business actions. So we automatically start asking if really my process, if really I have to use Power Automate or Logic App. Here there is it depends on your data integration, on your data. It depends on which business scenario you want to implement your data. It depends also on which system do you want to connect. For me, if you want my personal idea about these two tools, for me, they are making the same result. You can, for example, create a Power Automate application, and then you can copy the JSON code, because finally Power Apps, it's a low to no code application, but you can, after copy the JSON code, export the code and make it in a Logic App application. But on some scenarios, we need, for example, to have more development action. For example, we need to have more data connectors. For example, we have some specific, we need some development actions or specific actions which not exist in Power Automate. In this case, you have to use Logic App. So for me, it's both of them. They are making the same result. You will have finally the same result. Also, another thing is you have also the possibility. You can imagine the scenario: you have a global client. You are working with a global client, and with multiple Dynamics 365 FinOps instances, and you want after to deliver this application to all subsidiaries of the group. So in this case, for me, I prefer to use Logic App because it will help me to have a version control. So I can create a version control. I can create a release pipeline with my Azure Logic App. Which sometimes it will be a little bit limited by using Power Automate. So I prefer in this case use Logic App. For example, I have a scenario. For example, I want to push financial data from FinOps, and I need to push them into a file bank server, for example. There is some limitation by using Power Automate, so it depends really on which business scenario you need really to implement your Power Platform tools. Yes. Thank you, EW. Sorry. So yeah, as I mentioned in my presentation, I think this is a great. It's highly important because the ERP finally is not an isolated tool. So it should be it's an hyper-connected tool and should not be isolated. So the ERP should connect with other system in a daily manner, in a continuous manner. So that's why it's highly important to have a good data integration strategy, a scalable data integration strategy that will help you after to communicate with other systems easily without the need to, for example, to buy or add an extra functional or business layers. So for me, I think really Microsoft still continue improving these tools, and I think we can do great things with Power Platform integrated with Dynamics 365 FinOps or CRM or any other Dynamics 365 tools. So yeah. So thank you, Santosh. So don't hesitate if you have any other technical question. I will send to you if you want, you can search my name on LinkedIn. So I will be more than happy to answer your question. Thank you.